Welcome to another track by track album recommendations video for Taylor Swift albums. Today we are going to be doing Lover by Taylor Swift. I am really excited because I personally really like this album. I think it's not in my top 3 or anything, but I still think that some of these songs are some of her best songs she's ever written. I think this is a really romance heavy album. It's all about love, hence the title Lover. So a lot of the books in this particular video are going to be more love story romance type of books, but I'm also the type of person that can't just solely read or recommend really fluffy light contemporary romance books. So a lot of these are going to have more depth to them. I have been doing this series on my channel for months at this point. I have been kind of dragging it out a little bit so that I can read a couple new books so that I'm not just recommending the same 5 books over and over again. But I've already done Folklore, where I went through the entire track list and recommended a book for each song. I already did Speak Now and Evermore. I think those are the only 3 I've done. I'll link any of the ones I've done previously down below so you can go check those out. If you have any recommendations for another album that I could do, leave them down below. I honestly don't know how much longer I can keep this going because I don't read a ton of new books. I'm not the kind of person that reads like 100 books in a year. So a lot of the books I'm recommending for these videos are repeats, which is not the best and not the most ideal thing ever. So I might be taking a little bit of a step back from this series to read some new books, or even just kind of cutting it off either after this one or after the next one. It depends on if I have enough new content to recommend for some of her other albums. We'll see where this goes, but I'm excited to do this one. I got a comment from a lovely viewer who wanted me to do Lover next, so that's exactly what I'm doing. The first song on the track list is I Forgot That You Existed. So I have to recommend The 7 Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. It is basically about this, I'm pretty sure she's a journalist or a reporter who gets offered to interview one of the greatest movie stars of all time. Think of it like a Marilyn Monroe type of character. This woman gets the opportunity of a lifetime, specifically recommended by this Marilyn Monroe character, Evelyn Hugo, to interview her and kind of write her memoir. As you go, you're finding out so much more about her life that maybe isn't as it would seem to the public, because all of this stuff is actual life experience that Evelyn Hugo has gone through that not a lot of people know about. I paired this one with I Forgot That You Existed simply because she is very much like, you know, if you were mean to me in the past, I just kind of like cut you out, don't really think about you anymore, and my story is my story, and anybody that tries to tell it another way is just simply wrong because it's not their story, it's mine. Next is a book that I don't currently have with me. I don't have the physical copy, but I would recommend this, more specifically the show. If you want the vibes of Cruel Summer, I highly recommend watching The Summer I Turned Pretty. I would say reading it too, and I do recommend that for some people if you like that kind of younger, more YA type of style of romance book. I feel like in my head, Cruel Summer and The Summer I Turned Pretty, the show specifically, just go together so well. Cruel Summer, if I'm not mistaken, is in the show. They play a lot of Taylor Swift songs. If you're a Swiftie and you haven't watched the show, highly recommend doing that. But if you haven't read the book, maybe give it a try. I just felt like this was the only book that I could possibly pair with Cruel Summer because it just fit too well. Next we have the title track, Lover. I had to recommend Magnolia Park's Into the Dark for this song, just because of the lines in this song. I think this is one of the most beautiful love songs ever written. We could leave the Christmas lights up till January. This is our place, we make the rules. Those lyrics specifically, I just immediately connected to Magnolia and BJ, but specifically Into the Dark, the last book in the series, or the last book in the Magnolia Park's BJ perspectives in the series. I just feel that their entire journey ends in the most beautiful, like, cascade of emotions. Lover just captured that so well, and I don't really want to talk more about that because this is the last book in a series. I don't want to spoil anything. It took a while to get to this place. Their journey is so twisty. I don't know how else to explain it. It's just a really bumpy ride and a long journey home. Next we have The Man. There was quite literally no other book except maybe Throne of Glass, because I do know a lot of people connect Selena, the main character in the Throne of Glass series, to The Man, the song, but I personally feel like The Man, the vibes of The Man and the lyrics of The Man combined, it just had to be Carrie Soto's Back. Another literary fiction by Taylor Jenkins Reid. This is becoming a movie, I think. Either a movie or a show, but I'm pretty sure it's a movie. It's gonna be so good. It's being produced by Serena Williams, I think. Like, that's gonna be incredible. So this book is basically all about tennis and a female tennis player who had the highest record for winning tennis matches in her career. And then she retired because she was like, you know what, I have my record. No one's really gonna beat that. And then this other woman who is a pretty good pro female tennis player, she is very close to beating her record. So Carrie Soto decides to come out of retirement and take back her title. So this just reminded me so much of The Man, specifically the way the whole song is talking about, like, if I was a man, I would get the recognition that I deserved. If I was not a woman in this field, I would be respected so much more for what I've accomplished. Next, we have The Archer. And for this one, I have two books. First of all, I have The Hunger Games. I feel like everybody connects Katniss to The Archer. I've seen so many edits. She is quite literally an archer. She has a bow and arrow. And I feel like everybody's read this, or at least knows the story, or watched the movies, or has heard about this series in some way. It is very popular, and rightfully so. I love these books and the movies so much. So I had to put this one in here just because that was an obvious connection, but more of a unique recommendation. I would recommend One Dark Window. This is the most surprised I think I've ever been picking up a fantasy series. Happily surprised, by the way. I really didn't expect to love this duology as much as I did. I also want to preface, I think I talked about this somewhere in a video on my channel, but I don't know if I've talked about it in a book video yet. But I have been saying that this is a trilogy, and I'm like, I'm so excited for the third book to come out. It's gonna be so good. Like, I can't wait. This whole time it was a duology. I just think the main character in this book, Elsbeth, she is the archer. The whole song is kind of about anxiety, but if you look at it through more of a fantasy book lens, you can kind of see the way a female main character who is a really strong female main character who maybe has special powers. For Elsbeth's sake, she's a very strong-minded character because she's dealing with a monster/nightmare that's been put in her head from when she was very young. So even though she doesn't have any special powers, and a lot of people would consider her power and her strength to be the monster in her head, she has had to overcome that kind of mind control for most of her life. And I just think The Archer shows such a beautiful display of bravery. Next we have I Think He Knows, which just reminded me so much of Mr. Wrong Number by Lynn Painter. If you've never read Lynn Painter's more adult romances, I highly recommend reading them. I just remember the vibes in this book match the vibes of the song I Think He Knows so perfectly that I just had to pair these together. I think it's just such a classic rom-com type of song, so I had to pair it with a classic rom-com type of book. Next we have Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince. I needed to pair this book with this song because everybody does, simply because it's too perfect. Like, you just can't pair it with anything else. So Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince coded, especially because Jax has that whole curse, unless it's his true love, she will die. Like, the Heartbreak Prince, Miss Americana and the Heartbreak Prince, it just matches way too well. And if you like that kind of classic fairy tale type of fantasy, I highly recommend reading these. Next we have Paper Rings, which I like shiny things, but I'd marry you with paper rings. Is that not Emma and Justin coded? I think it is. I honestly want to say that Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez is my favorite romance I've ever read. That's insane. I've read many romances. This specifically matched Paper Rings because their whole love is about seeing the mundane things in life and in their relationship and thinking, you know, that is what makes it so special. The whole idea of not needing something shiny or special or expensive to be with the person that you want to be with for the rest of your life. Quite literally marrying that person with paper rings instead of an actual ring. It just fit them so well, and their whole love story is just the epitome of this song. And if this ever gets turned into a TV show or a movie, they better play Paper Rings at some point because it would just match way too well. Happy Place is the next book, and I paired this one with Cornelia Street because Harriet and Wynne, they are just showing how a difficult situation and a difficult relationship can work out if you really communicate with the person and work through all of the issues and the struggles that you're having. And Cornelia Street, the whole line of I'll never walk Cornelia Street again if we ever break up, like knowing that what they have is so strong through it all is just, I just had to pair them together. I just think it's so Cornelia Street coded. Cornelia Street might be my favorite song off of Lover. I just think it's so beautifully written, and the way that she sings it's just so full of emotion, and you know, they just went too well in my head, so I had to pair them together. Next, we have Death by a Thousand Cuts, another one of my favorites off of Lover, and this one screamed The Conditions of Will to me. This is Jessa Hastings' newest release, and I just recently finished this. I finished it like 2 days ago. I'm obsessed with this, and now I need her to write a full-on mystery because this shocked me. I thought this was a romance. Obviously, I should know going into a Jessa Hastings book that she's not gonna write a full romance, or at least not yet. I feel like all of her books are kind of more about life and aspects of struggles in life and beautiful moments in life and just kind of the whole human experience. I think that's how she markets her books, actually, word for word. It had so many aspects of mystery, so drama-filled too. If you like drama, read this book because you will get your drama fill for the month, to be honest. Our main character, Georgia, goes back to her hometown of South Carolina. There is a lot of talk about, religious differences between her and her family and LGBTQ plus struggles since her brother is gay and her family isn't really accepting of that. And I would recommend looking up trigger warnings specifically for this book. I always say that about Magnolia Parks, but I feel like the stuff in here would be way more hard-hitting if you are easily affected by those kind of topics in books or movies or shows. The line in the song, I asked the traffic lights if it'll be all right, they say I don't know. One of my favorite lyrics of all time. I think Taylor Swift is a genius. I've said that before and I'll say it again a million times. But specifically that line, I can just picture Georgia driving in one of the scenes in this book and looking at the traffic lights and being like, I don't even know where to go from here. Next, we have London Boy, and only one book came into my brain at that moment when I had to pair London Boy with a book recommendation, and that is Don't Be in Love. One of my favorite romance reads of all time, to be completely honest with you. I love a good study abroad romance. I love a book where she goes to London because that's where I'd like to end up one day. Them sightseeing around London together was just so cute. She basically falls in love when she's studying abroad against her will, to be completely honest. Not in a weird, creepy way, but in a way where she's like, I really don't want to be falling for this guy, but I kind of am right now. He's low-key a celebrity. He's like the Harry Styles, but not a singer of this fictional world that's our world. Next is a song that I skip. This song and The Best Day, I never listen to. Like, I have to skip them or else I'm gonna be in tears. Soon You'll Get Better. Taylor Swift doesn't even perform this song, from what I know. If you're gonna go look it up and listen to it after this, you've been warned. I would recommend Harmony for this. This was actually a really difficult one to pair with a book because it's such a specific topic, but if you take away the specific topic aspect of it and you're more so talking about different topics of grief and death and that kind of family relationship, but also friendship relationship, I think Harmony is a great option. This is actually a collection of poems, so it is a poetry book, but the poems in this book talk about a range of topics, most of them talking about, the human experience and grief and life and death and love and losing somebody that you love. So I would pair these two together. Next is False God. False God is so A Court of Mist and Fury coded, the second book in the ACOTAR series, A Court of Thorns and Roses by Sarah J. Maas. Every time I listen to False God, without a doubt, my mind goes to Feyre and Rhys. I just think False God is ACOTAR, and specifically A Court of Mist and Fury when they start to really interact in the series. So that's all I'm going to say about that. I think if you know the song, you know the song. If you know the books, you know the books. Next, we have You Need to Calm Down. And this song is very much talking about how the gay community can be really ridiculed for literally just being themselves. So I had to pair The Conditions of Will with this song as well. I am doing it for 2 songs in this video. I'm really sorry, but I just had to repeat this recommendation because You Need to Calm Down. Like, this book reminded me so much of that, specifically not really the vibe of You Need to Calm Down, but the message behind it. Next, we have Afterglow. This one was kind of difficult, and I'm not fully happy with the book that I have to pair with this song. I was just feeling a romance, so I paired it with Begin Again. This is such a cute book. I think if you are into kind of more fluffy contemporary romances that still have a little bit more depth in them, but still slightly not a really mature love story, but just kind of like a cute go with the flow type of romance, Emma Lord has great options. And especially if you're going into college or are about to be in that point of your life, highly recommend reading this book. I low-key want to reread it before I go to college because I just remember reading this and feeling so much less stressed out about the whole college experience. Obviously, this isn't going to be super realistic, so I wouldn't read this and be like, oh, my college experience is going to be exactly like this book. But it definitely gave me a new perspective on going away to college and made me feel a little bit more reassured about the people that you're going to meet there. It was just really cute, found family type of vibes, takes place on a college campus, and Begin Again is a Taylor Swift reference, so Emma Lord is a Swiftie. The next song on the track list is Me, and for this one, I would recommend The Let Them Theory. This is such a weird recommendation because I didn't really know how to recommend a book for me. Me is such a unique song. I think it's very difficult to pair a book to it. The only thing I could think of was the Let Them Theory, specifically because the Let Them Theory is talking about having so much belief and strength in yourself as a person, and kind of that self-help type of vibe, and like the only person that is you is you. I don't know. This is not my best recommendation, not my best work, but I just felt like those two went somewhat together in my head, so I paired them together. Next we have It's Nice to Have a Friend, and this book is quite literally It's Nice to Have a Friend. Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. I think every woman should read this at least once in her life. I think also with age, you'll understand this book a little bit more. I read it when I was a little bit too young to understand, so I would love to go back and reread it. I thought a lot of the book was depressing, but quite frankly, that's kind of the point. And the whole found family and realizing that relationships don't always have to be romantic. The best relationships that you find and the relationships that you learn the most in and take the most out of can be your female friendships or your friendships in general. So It's Nice to Have a Friend just fit the vibe of friendship that you will find in this book. And then last but not least, we have Daylight, People We Meet on Vacation. Can I go an entire video without recommending People We Meet on Vacation? I don't know. This is becoming a movie. I think it's coming out January 9th of 2026. I'm so excited. I love the cast so much. I think this is one of my favorite Emily Henry books, and Daylight, it just reminds me so much of Poppy and Alex. Even though some of the lyrics don't match their story exactly, I think the whole vibe of the song and the message of the song and the romance aspect of the song matches them and their love story in this book very, very well. Those were all the recommendations I have for you today. Hopefully you got something out of this. You got a book recommendation, or even just enjoyed sitting with me for a little bit today. If you did enjoy it, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more videos like this. All my other social media platforms are linked in the description below as always, and I will see you in the next video very, very soon.